Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to the Southern Risk Management Education Center's grant applicant training for our currently open risk, RFA. First, I'd like to introduce our team here at the center working with me. They try to keep me out of the ditches. But we have John McMahon, who's our program coordinator, and we have Erica Fields, who you'll hear from shortly, who's our project manager and handles all of our financial analysis and grants contracts. And so we are here today to learn about our RFA and what we are looking for in our proposal. So if you all will step aside, we'll go ahead and get into that PowerPoint presentation. Again, just as an FYI, this presentation will be archived. The video will be available on our center's website, and we will have the PowerPoint presentation uploaded as a PDF so that you can download to look at this material later on in more detail. But this is our 2018 grant applicant training for the Southern Risk Management Education Center. Again, I'm the director of the center, and we are excited to have you here this afternoon. Some people may be from other regions joining us. We're part of a national program. The Extension Risk Management Education Center. So if you're from one of these regional centers, feel free. Some of our information will be applicable, but I encourage you to follow up by reaching out to the center to which you're going to be applying. This is the Southern Risk Management Center, which is located at the University of Arkansas. We're here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we serve primarily the Southeast U.S., including the territories of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. If you look, we're a national program with But the Southern Center here is again at the University of Arkansas. This is the website that we are part of. If you're interested in learning more about some of the activities and resources that are available from the Southern Center, again, you can also find us on that national website as well. But I encourage you to visit our website to learn about some of our activities and resources, and maybe you'll see us at some of our events that we're affiliated with across the region. This webinar is focused in on our currently open requests for applications, our SRMEC RFA. If you go to our website and click on funding, you'll see the link that says apply for funding. Eric is going to get into a lot more of that detail, but that link gives you not only a link to the RVS system, which is our application management program, but also has a link to some of the proposal tutorial tools that are available, as well as some of the additional information that we have provided to assist you in developing your RFA. So our center's RFA was released on September 17th of this past year. The proposals will be due on November 15th at 5 p.m. The RVS system is an online submission process, and so there will be a time and date stamp on your proposal once you submit it. So make sure that you submit your proposal within that deadline, and that's 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have two projects within our RFA right now. We have our traditional educational project, which is our 18-month project, traditional education outreach projects that educate producers in managing risk. And then we have exploratory projects, which are capped at $5,000. You might recall a few years ago, SRMEC did what we call these conference sponsorship proposals. Those proposals would still be applicable, but we would ask you to apply for those under the exploratory category. The thing that we want to highlight for either an educational project or an exploratory project is that you are addressing a risk management topic. So risk management education is the goal of our program. And at the Southern Center, we like to highlight it by saying that we empower producers to manage risk. So we provide funds to our stakeholders, to our clients, you all, the educators, to go out and do training that empowers producers to more effectively manage risk. The period of performance for our traditional 18-month projects is April 1 of 2019 through September 30th of 2020. For the exploratory projects, we have an abbreviated timeline that is from March 1 to October 31st. We get some calls for people that have some activities that they want to do in February. I would encourage you to go ahead and submit your application to see if we can get those reviewed, to see if we can get funding to you if your project is approved. But The thing that I want to focus in on my segment of this is to highlight the risk management education areas, the topics that we want to fund projects on. Extension Risk Management Education Program highlights and we define risk broadly across 5 areas. We have this publication, which is available on the Southern Center's website, as well as the National Extension RME website, called An Introduction to Risk Management. So we broadly define risk management across the areas of production, marketing, finance, legal, and human. You'll notice if you've ever done any of the risk management agency programs, they define risk across these 5 areas as well. So we're both looking at managing risk, but risk management agency focuses on crop insurance, whereas we focus on the full range of activities and strategies to help farmers and ranchers manage risk on their operations. So this Introduction to Risk Management publication is an excellent resource to assist you in understanding, does my topic fit for this program area? And how do I refine it to make sure that I am addressing a risk management topic? I often get asked, what's the best topic for me to focus in on? And I'll never answer that question. I will only say that what we want you to do is to address a producer need, address needs in your area and define that need and define that producer audience. But just for your information, I want to show you the portfolio nationally of what we funded since this program started. ERME program has been around since 2002, and we funded over 900 projects, at least one project in every state and or territory. Financial projects or targeted projects targeting financial risk are lead the number of projects that we have funded with 36%, followed by marketing risk. And then human and production risk are followed equally at 17% equally, with legal being the ones that we have funded the least amount. But again, the thing that I'll say, we fund risk management education and we try to fund the best projects. That is, as they are identified by our advisory council. As we look across these 5 broad areas in terms of ERME programmatic goals, the 5 risk areas, we like to think they give farmers and ranchers a process or a framework to seek technical assistance. Also gives them that framework to identify resources that we hope ultimately will help them make more informed or better informed decisions in terms of how do they manage risk for their operations, for their businesses. We have, this past year, we've announced an addition within our RFA that we have tried to think more long-term in terms of the impacts, in terms of what is the result of our training. We funded a number of projects, but in addition to trying to say that we've trained X number of producers in so many states, we want to talk about some of the longer-term impacts that we're having. So what, if you will, what's the impact of these trainings? So we developed some aspirational goals, and these aspirational goals really drill down to get to the risk management nature of the activities that we're trying to fund. Ultimately, we're hoping that our projects that are funded will help enhance farm and ranch operations, those daily management decisions, and ultimately profitability by enabling those farmers and ranchers to more successfully manage the agricultural risks which they face every day. As we think through these aspirational goals, we actually have a separate aspirational goal for each one of our program areas. So as you think through your proposal, make sure that you're addressing a risk management topic and try to align it specifically to an aspirational goal. You can address more than one goal, but our goal would be for an applicant to focus in on a single aspirational goal and then drill down with some aligned activities that carry that producer, deliver that individual producer or rancher, deliver them from going across our producer action steps that they are achieving multiple producer action items. So our aspirational goals, I'll start with production. Production is to enhance understanding of yield variability, insurance products, technology, diversification, and farm management systems to help control costs and improve farm or ranch income. You notice how we've taken those risk management topics and we've helped align it to enhancing the management activities, the production system, ultimately with the hope of enhancing the profitability. In terms of marketing, We're seeking projects that improve producer understanding and use of commodity price risk management, product marketing strategies, or what we sometimes call niche marketing or targeted marketing strategies. Also looking at going from this commodity focus to a differentiated marketing focus or branding focus that involves more relationship marketing to, again, help those farmers enhance their farm and their ranch viability, their economic prosperity. As we go and we look at finance, we're trying to identify projects that help farmers and ranchers help their capacity to address strategic business planning, production cost management, record keeping analysis, asset management, and financial planning that enhances cash flow, profitability, and financial performance. Again, trying to drill down on the specific topics in the financial area that can help those farmers enhance their profitability in their business operations. If we look at legal, we're looking for projects that cultivate farmer and ranchers' abilities to address their business organizations, different types of organizational structures, contracts, regulatory policies, and liability issues. Help those businesses manage their legal risk exposure. Again, we're hopeful that as we identify projects that are managing or assisting those farmers and ranchers to enhance their legal risk exposure, they're able to impact their bottom line. And then the last area that we look at is the human risk area, where we're looking at both employee and the ownership human capital. We're looking at develop farmer and rancher understanding of employee recruitment, retention, and management. Also looking at your internal and external business communications. That could be formally and informally in terms of the trainings that you're doing. Looking at business transition and farm safety systems to improve not only the business, but the worker success. So looking specifically at some employee training as well. So those are our 5 aspirational goals across the 5 risk management areas. So as you start to develop or finalize your proposals, please look and make sure that you are addressing at least a single aspirational goal and try to drill down. This will help to assure that you have a very clear approach in making sure that your project or your proposed project addresses a risk management area. Next, I'll go into the regional priorities. You saw the national map, know that we're part of a national program, but the regional centers differ in their regional priorities. And I want to just highlight that these regional priorities are not developed by me or my staff. They're developed by our advisory council. Actually, that's the group that will actually review and evaluate your proposals and select the ones that are funded. The Southern Center has a 12-member advisory council, and our advisory council meets and they meet to identify what are the critical issues facing agriculture across the region, because agriculture is very diverse and there are some regional differences in terms of the types of farms and systems that are being used, but also the type and the backgrounds of the farmers that make up the community of agriculture. So our Southern Center, they met this past summer and they identified 9 regional priorities. I'll highlight, I've got numbers beside these priorities, but I want to make sure that you don't think that this is a ranking. All of these priorities are equal. So I just put a number just to show you that we have 9 priorities. First area we're looking at for the regional priority. The council has highlighted that we're seeking to develop and deliver programs and decision tools that help producers evaluate and implement a transition to new enterprises or production systems. This is including enterprise budgets to evaluate niche markets for specialty crops or livestock. Given our current commodity outlook and the existing farm environment, there's a lot of interest in farmers trying to diversify and identify new systems and new crops or new enterprises that they can successfully incorporate into their farm business. Second area that we're trying to highlight is trying to find projects that teach producers to develop and implement marketing strategies that use appropriate tools such as futures and options, understanding and utilizing crop incentives, understanding contracts, direct marketing, and social media. Third area is looking at the food safety arena, looking for projects that train producers to understand and implement Food Safety Modernization Act, as well as compliance and looking at good ag practice certification with a focus on our small and or our family farms. as that regulatory policy, along with that industry standard, is becoming increasingly important to the success of our farming operations. The fourth area that we've looked at is looking at employees, looking for projects that focus on develop and deliver programs to help producers either attract, train, or retain employees, as we're looking for programs that help farmers identify and better address those areas. The fifth area is to aid producers in avoiding, diagnosing, and managing financial stress. As I said earlier, there's a lot of financial stress out there in the marketplace, given some of the current commodity outlook for prices. But then there's the increased strain of increasing input costs. This financial stress includes financial stress testing, maintaining access to capital, and assessing personal and family counseling services. We see that some of the personal family stress and the family stress is an increasing area of concern in terms of identifying the mental health issues that come along with being in financial difficulty. So we're trying to align those resources and tools to risk management topics as well. 6 is to create programs and tools to aid producers in water management decisions. These decisions that are water managed that are related to legislation and regulatory policy. We're looking at projects at both water quality and water quantity, as well as changing weather patterns. But again, we're looking at water management decisions. So if you're focused on a water management issue, please make sure that it is a risk management topic, going back to that farm management, that ranch management, hopefully impacting how will this educational effort impact their bottom line. Next area is educating producers to implement effective, safe, legal, and sustainable use of integrated pest management systems. That's across looking at management systems focused on insect, disease, and weeds. But again, as we look at these management systems, look at some of the risk management implications of helping producers implement effective management systems in these areas. The 8th area, priority area, is to assist producers in managing legal risks, including contracts, leasing, labor, business liability, and some of the direct marketing regulatory compliance. Again, that's a legal focus, but that's an area of increasing significance to some of our growing local food systems and direct marketing. And then the last area is looking to create programs that target underserved producers with education and information on the full scope of USDA agricultural programs, as well as public and private sources of capital and ag technology. So as you seek to develop programs that target underserved producers with education information, again, we hope that you're going to link those activities to some risk management topics. So as you look across those risk management priorities, I'd just like to reiterate that the listing of those regional priorities does not reflect a ranking. All these areas have been equally identified as being important across our region. As you look to define and refine your projects, we would hope that you would take your project and focus on a single aspirational goal. You can address multiple aspirational goals, but what we would hope is that you have drilled down with a collection of activities that are aligned along a single aspirational goal that will allow your producers to really achieve some significant impacts. And I'll address that just shortly. But try to move the producer along the ERME producer action spectrum. That is, we want you to have producers to achieve multiple action steps within your projects. And lastly, as you look at these SRMEC priorities, I'd just like to highlight that you articulate within your evaluation plans, both qualitative and quantitatively. You're looking at plans that capture higher level producer impacts. So as I said, we want to move producers along that ERME spectrum. We want to look at getting a proportion or a relatively higher proportion than what we've seen in the past of our producers to the implement or to the action stages. So going to implement versus simply understand. These proposals and proposals that have those evaluation plans that can clearly and transparently lay those action, those collection activities out will be ranked relatively higher. And as I speak, it may be confusing for those of you that are new to our program, but ERME uses a very distinct area in terms of the producer action areas. And I wanted to keep in mind that we are aware that these are only 18-month projects, and that some of the action steps that we may be seeking some success stories on are more longer term in nature, which is why I've put that short-term, immediate, and long-term action in terms of a timeline up there, because over an 18-month period, we would understand that it's hard to get long-term impact over an 18-month period. But the 5 areas that we look for producer action, and as you go into the RVS system and you lay out your action steps, you're going to be identifying and recording evaluation across these 5 producer actions. The first area of achievement is understand. The second area is analyze. The third area is develop. Fourth is decide. And then the 5th area is implement. So when I say the ERME producer spectrum, this is the spectrum that I'm talking. As an extension economist, I fully understand in my AIMS reporting the need to track how many people attended my meeting and did or did they not understand what I presented in terms of that evaluation. But we're trying to move beyond that to get to what did the participants do as a result of attending the training. So as a result of understanding a new topic, did they analyze, develop, or decide? And ultimately, did they implement in terms of a specific action? So we're trying to move beyond to go, although we know it may be difficult to get to getting and tracking some successes of some long-term with some changing conditions for those farmers and ranchers, we're hopeful that we'll be, at a minimum, we'll be able to start tracking and provide some documentable evaluation results that are in the intermediate level, that are talking about the specific actions that those farmers and ranchers took as a result of attending the training. Now, our programs are focused on results and outcomes. So the RVS system, which I referenced, is focused on a results-based process. We like to say that we begin with the end in mind. So as an applicant, we want you to begin with the end, those results, those outcomes that you want your growers to achieve. We feel that this increases the probability that the programs that we fund will improve the risk management skills of the farmers and ranchers who participate. We also feel that this design will enhance or improve the capacity and the quality of the programs that we fund across the country or across our region specifically. And then we think that this increases the opportunity to improve that economic viability, to improve that bottom line for our farm and ranch family participants. As we look at our program, we talk about the return on investment of our public dollars. We feel that the return of investment of our grant dollars awarded are the risk management improvements that those producers will make. So therefore, then we look at the measuring of those producer results and outcomes becomes an integral component of the program planning and design. It's not an afterthought. So your evaluation plans, the systems and the processes that you're going to use to capture those results and outcomes are equally as important as those outcomes that you're going to identify. We think that you should begin and track that in a very transparent and a realistic manner so that our advisory council can easily see that. As we look at some evaluation best practices, it's imperative that you focus on your producer results and outcomes. Focus on that from the very start. We want you to measure and verify producer results throughout the life of the project. It's important for us to look and say that we had a meeting that was well received. They thought the presentations were of good quality, or maybe even the break was good quality, or the facility was nice. But we want to know what did those producers think about the topics that were presented, and what did they do with the information that was presented. So as we evaluate your proposals, or as our advisory council evaluates those proposals, we want to see that you have a collection of activities that commit to helping producers reach their risk management goals, which would mean that you're going to have some clearly aligned project activities that seem intuitive and transparent of how you're moving an individual producer, again, along that producer spectrum. And then we just simply want you to document those reported results and outcomes in your quarterly reporting and in your final reporting. And then also along the way, we want you to be intentional as you capture some success stories and quotes. This ability to measure results and outcomes, we believe it will improve the effectiveness of your projects by looking at your project from start to finish in terms of the results or the outcomes that are for the participants. It will allow us to drill down and try to track those back to those specific aspirational goals. We also want to make you aware that all of our projects that are funded, those final reports that are published, they're available on the extensionrme.org website for the public to view. So we want you to demonstrate the participant achievement of risk management tools and strategies for viewing on the public website. And then ultimately, we're just trying to move the bar a little bit higher for the effectiveness. Again, looking at those long-term impacts of risk management education so we can highlight the success of our program. The ERME program's mission is to educate America's farmers and ranchers to manage the unique risk of producing food for the world's table. Again, we invest in produce results. And I'd like to just really highlight for the Southern Center, in addition to investing in those producer results, we like to really focus in on empowering our producers to manage those risks. We try to get those success stories from you through funding your projects, and then we publish those success stories up as part of the national effort in our progress report. We also highlight them on our website. And so this is my last slide, and then I'm going to ask Ms. Erica Fields to come up to give you some of the budget and some of those guidelines.
Well, good afternoon. It was wonderful seeing most of you in Atlanta at the Southern Outlook Conference. Today, I'll review the budget and budget narrative section of our 2019 RFA. Applications are required to have both of these sections detailing various line items. The categories reviewed today are examples of some of the more common items found in project budgets, such as salary, fringe benefits, travel, other direct costs, indirect costs, as well as unallowable costs. All budget items should be described in the narrative in sufficient detail so that the center can determine if these costs are reasonable and allowable for the project. First, I'll review salaries and fringe benefits. This is located in the RFA under budget section A and B. The salary section of your project proposal should include the salary details of the person being paid from the project. Only people employed by your organization should be listed in this category. Funded months should be shown in either calendar or academic months, depending on the appointment of the person. Non-academic institutions should report salary based on the calendar month. The rate of pay should not exceed $78.94 an hour. This is executive level 4. This rate does not include fringe benefits, general and administrative or overhead expenses. Salaries of administrative staff should be listed as an indirect cost. However, if the following 4 conditions are met, then directly charging administrative staff in the salary category may be appropriate. Number 1, if the clerical services are integral to the project or activity. Second, if individuals involved can be specifically identified. Third, if these costs are included in the budget or have prior written approval of SRMEC. Also, these costs should not also be recovered as indirect costs. If you have students working on your project, you are allowed to pay them an hourly wage. However, you cannot pay them a student assistantship or tuition from this grant. Salaries, fringe benefits. Please include the total allowable fringe rate. Next, we will review the budget section C, titled Equipment. The purchase of equipment is not allowed under this program. Equipment is defined as an item equal to or in excess of $5,000, as well as having a useful life of more than 1 year. Now, we'll review budget section D, travel. In the travel category, please provide the following information: the destination, purpose, number of travelers, as well as the estimated cost per trip. Also in the budget narrative, please use GSA domestic per diem rate when you are on official travel. The per diem rate should be in accordance to the organizational policy for the destination, city, and state. Domestic travel is allowed, which includes Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. Budget Section E, Participant Trainee Support Costs. If you are conducting a train-the-trainer project, or if your project has a train-the-trainer component, please consult with SRMEC to determine how these costs should be listed. The next section we will review is Budget Section F, titled Other Direct Costs. Other direct costs are those anticipated direct project charges not included in other budget categories. A description and cost must be included in the budget narrative for each item. An example of other direct costs includes materials and supplies. Please list the materials and supplies with their estimated costs. This could include items such as office supplies, software, educational, as well as field supplies. For items that are not typically materials or supplies, a detailed narrative of how the item fits the program must be included in the proposal. Other direct cost publication costs. This is not allowed under this program. Publication costs includes costs related to publishing of articles in scientific or technical journals. Other direct cost consulting. A consultant is someone who renders expert advice in his or her field. The consultant should not be affiliated with a performing organization. The budget narrative should include the following: the consultant's name, his or her organization, as well as a breakdown of the amount being charged to the project. In addition, each consultant must also provide the following documentation to be included in the proposal application, including a signed letter of commitment, as well as abbreviated resume. These documents should be combined into a single PDF file and uploaded with the project team or project collaborator section of the application. Other direct costs, computer services. Computer services are not allowed under the program. However, charges for internet access are permitted in this category. Other direct cost subawards. When a portion of your work proposed will be performed by outside sources, funding may be used for subawards. However, this funding may not exceed 49% of the total funds awarded. All subawards are required to follow the same rules and regulations as you, the awardee, are bound to. The level of detail required for subaward budgets is the same as the applicant organization. This line item in the budget narrative of the applicant organization should list the total amount of requested funding that will go to the subaward. The subaward organization must also provide a signed letter of commitment, a clear scope of work, a separate budget for their portion of the funding, as well as a detailed budget supporting their portion of the budget. These documents should be combined into a single PDF and uploaded in the project team or project collaborator section of your application. Continuing with other direct costs, now we will review equipment rental, facility rental, as well as speaker and honorarium fees. For equipment rental, if it is needed for the project, please provide the following detailed information in the budget narrative. Include the type of equipment to be rented, the purpose related to the project, the length of time needed, as well as the rental rate. If it is necessary to rent office space or other facility spaces for project implementation, the space must be located off-site from the organization's main facility, and the space should not be owned by the recipient organization. The cost for rent may be charged against this award if the space is used specifically for the project. The budget narrative should provide the normal monthly rental charge, as well as how this rent is prorated for the project. Continuing with other direct costs. For costs not specifically listed, please identify and provide details of the costs involved. Some of the more common items included in this category are communication, photocopying, as well as service or maintenance contracts. Service or maintenance contract costs should be in direct correlation to the use of the equipment for the project. For example, if a particular machine is used 50% of the time for the project should only be charged 50% of the service and maintenance costs. Continuing with other direct costs, for conference and meetings, please break down the cost for the conference and meeting and provide the budget narrative. For speaker or training fees, please include the fee as well as a description of the services they are providing. For honorarium fees, please provide information regarding the honorarium amount, as well as a brief statement regarding what the person is doing to earn the honorarium. The next section we will review is Budget Section H, titled Indirect Costs. Indirect costs are allowed. However, it may not exceed the lesser of the institution's officially federally negotiated indirect cost rate, or 30% of the total federal funds awarded. If your organization does not have a federally negotiated indirect cost rate, an F&A rate of 10% of the modified total direct cost is allowed. This program does not allow cost share or matching funds. The following is a list of selected items, which are usually unallowable. The list is not all-inclusive. It includes alcohol, entertainment costs, promotional items, incentives given to entice participation in the program, rent for grantee-owned facilities, award ceremonies, receptions, proposal writing costs, as well as meals, which are generally unallowed. However, under special circumstances, we can provide some means for meals, but we will need justification. For a complete listing of unallowable costs, please refer to the uniform guidance. Please note that all submitted applications must contain a completed and signed ERME cover sheet, an ERME budget form, budget narrative, letters of commitment from project collaborators, consultants, as well as subordinates. Also note that on the final page of the 2019 RFA, you will find an application checklist. Now, we understand that this is a lot of information, so please don't get discouraged. All of this information can be found in our 2019 RFA located at srmec.uaex.edu under the Funding tab. On our website, you can also find information about the RBS, which has tutorials to help guide you through the proposal writing and submission process. This is a zoomed-in view of the information found under the Funding tab. As you see, the 2019 RFA, the grant applicant training webinars, as well as the link to RBS is on this funding page. Here you will find a screenshot of the tutorials and application resources that RBS offers. You can find this at extension rme.org. Here's a screenshot of the RBS reporting page. This is where you will register as a user to submit your proposal. Please mark your calendar with these important dates to remember. Applications must be submitted by November 15th by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Successful and unsuccessful applicants will be notified by February 15th, 2019. Successful applicants with finalized sub-award agreements will begin working on their project by April 1st, 2019. Again, I'm Erica Field, Project Manager for SRMEC. And now I will hand it back off to our Director, Ron Rain.
Thank you, Erica. Again, you can find this information on be found at srmec.uaes.edu. So again, we appreciate you taking time out to visit with us, to understand a little bit more about our grant application process. We hope that you will submit. People often say that it's difficult to get funded under our program, but I can only assure you of not getting funded is by not submitting. So please, we encourage you to submit. If you're successful, we'll be in contact by the middle of February. If you're unsuccessful, we will also be able to give you some strengths and weaknesses from your evaluation panel. As you prepare your proposals, I'd just like to remind you to one, as you think through your proposal, to think through beginning with the end in mind. Make sure your topic is addressing a risk management topic. As you go through that topic, go down and align those activities with an aspirational goal, and then lay out a collection of activities, a collection of aligned activities that can transparently, clearly take a producer through a number of specific producer action items. So we wish you well. Good luck on the application process. But even if you're not an applicant, we invite you to come and visit our website or the national website to identify risk management tools that can hopefully help our farmers and ranchers better manage their businesses. Thank you.